All right, everyone. Welcome back to Chapter 3 of our Introduction to the Dairy Raid Offense series. And today we are starting to look at an overlooked part of the air raid / dairy raid offense, and that is the running game. And rightfully so, when you think of the air raid offense, the run game is not the first thing that comes to your mind. What comes to your mind is Mike Leach and his 5-foot splits spreading the field around with Texas Tech throwing the ball all over the place, to Lincoln Riley spreading around with Caleb Williams. You think quarterback play, you think receiver play, you think throwing the ball all over the place, putting the ball to open grass, and pass. And while that is the basis of where the air raid started, it's where the philosophy grew. Over the years, the philosophy of the air raid, the idea of getting the ball in open space to your playmakers, has expanded to include not only your receivers, but your running backs and your quarterbacks in the run game. Because what even the masters of the air raid, like Mike Leach, eventually came to realize is sometimes you need to get the ball into space with as few moving parts as possible. Sometimes the situation calls for running the ball. There are a lot of moving parts to even the most basic hitch throw in the passing game. So you need to have a well-balanced rushing attack if you want to have a well-balanced offense. Okay? And when we're talking about balance, I'm not talking about 50% run, 50% pass. I'm talking about the idea of the defense will tell you how to beat them. And some teams it's going to be throwing the ball 50 times. Some teams it's going to be running the ball 50 times. Scheme will change, but if you have the ability to be balanced and be able to be good at what you want to do, then it opens up a lot of areas for success. You're not married to one thing, and if that doesn't work, you're in trouble. And it's with this understanding of balance that we want to try to bring the air raid philosophy to Wisconsin and still build it upon traditional Wisconsin values. Okay. And with a balanced running attack, you can do that. And when we're talking about balanced rushing attack, we're looking for that component of the offense to be able to stress the defense north and south and east and west. And if we want to build modern components into it and expand it even more, we want to look to create conflicts of assignment. And it's these basic tenets is what is built into the air raid offense in the passing game. In the air raid, the whole idea is to force the defense to cover the entire field, to stress them vertically and horizontally, and to create conflicts of assignment. We can do that in the running game too. And we do that by running simple schemes that have multiple components that we can build off of it. And for us and most teams that run a run to spread or spread to run, offense, we're looking to run inside zone, outside zone, and power. And today we're going to break down the first of those three run schemes, and that will be the inside zone. For me, the inside zone is the best foundational scheme that you can add to any offense, because while it gives you great north-south capabilities, there is so much you can build upon the inside zone that you can build a full offense, balanced offense around that one scheme. And it's basic enough that you don't have to have the world's greatest offensive line to run it, because the whole idea is building up double teams. So what we're going to do next here is we're going to get into the classroom on Huddle, and we're going to install and build up the inside zone. Okay, so here we are back in Huddle, and I have a basic 2x2 spread formation set up here because we're going to install this play starting from my point of view and how I install it with my teams, and then we are going to build upon that, and we're going to get into film, and we're going to talk about how Wisconsin runs the inside zone and how Phil Longo builds upon that. All right. So like most rushing schemes, the inside zone is a rules-based scheme. The difference, though, with a zone scheme, when you apply rules to it, is in a gap scheme like power, you use rules to let your blockers know who on defense they need to block. Okay, that's easy to understand. With a zone scheme, what you're trying to use the rules to is to establish the direction and the flow of the blockers to then find defenders who occupy the zones that they are responsible for. So you're blocking a zone and the person who comes into your zone more than I need to block this individual player, no matter where he goes. So that's how we're going to build up through it. So we'll start with that. So our rules here are pretty simple. When we're looking at inside zone, our blockers are responsible for the area from their backside shoulder. So, for example, we're going to run inside zone left. They are going to be responsible for the area from their backside shoulder to the play side gap, or the backside shoulder of the man next to him. This area, and with this area is both left to right and up and down. That is his area of responsibility. And then we look for a defender who is in that area to let us know where our initial footwork is going to carry us. Okay? If there is nobody in our assigned gap, then the first thing we're going to look to do is try to get into a double team with the man next to us. And failing to do so, we want to immediately get to the second level and try to pick up a second level defender. Okay? So for this to work, communication is key. Okay? We need to know who is a part of the double team. We need to communicate it. We need to call out our blocks. And in doubt, we just flat out point to the guy that we're blocking in the area that we're going to. You ain't helping the defense by telling them that you're going to block them. If anything, you're going to direct them exactly where you want to go. Okay. So now that we know our area that we are blocking, the next thing that we need to focus on is we need to make sure we understand, are we covered or uncovered? And what does it mean to be covered? To be covered, very simply, you have a defender who is lining up either directly on you or on one of your shoulders. He is in your framework of your body. That means you are covered. So we'll start with, if you are covered with the man directly on you, right down the middle, then what we're basically trying to do is execute a drive block. Just get low and try to get as much of a vertical push on that defender as possible. We do so because if we try to scoop and or try to move to attack a shoulder, what we can lose is our leverage. And it will be much harder that once we get into the double team to get vertical push on that defender if we don't start with it. Okay, so we want to dig deep and we want to try to get that defender going vertical. If at least we stop his forward momentum. We don't want him to get any momentum, period. We want him going upfield where we want him to go, or stagnant on the line of scrimmage. If we are covered to our play side, okay, so our play side gap, then what we want to look to, or our play side shoulder, then what we want to try to do is we want to take our play side foot and stick it down the middle, a flat step, open to 45 degrees down the middle of that defender. Our second step wants to come parallel with that, and with that movement, we are going to get into our defender. And now, since we're covered to our shoulder, we're looking to create more of the angular or horizontal push of that defender. Okay? And then finally, if we are covered to the backside, when we're covered to the backside, first thing we don't want to do is we don't want to step towards him. Okay? We want to step vertically through his shoulder. Okay? Because what we want to do, we want to create vertical push, but we don't want to counteract the push of our teammate who's helping us with a double team. So if we're looking inside here at this potential double team, if our left guard blocks to the right and our center blocks to his left, the pressure can negate each other, and what you end up getting is a stalemate. Or more likely or not, one of these guys is going to slip because one guy is pushing harder than the other. So what we would look to do is we would look to attack here his inside shoulder, or inside to us, outside for the center, and we're looking to at least stalemate, if not create a little bit of upfield push. Then our center in this case, he's going to take his flat step and he's going to work to get to the near shoulder, the near number on his side. So he's going to create the angular movement. Our guard is going to create the horizontal movement, and that's going to help carry this defender to the second level. And now, here we've established our first double team. Okay? And that's the basis of when we're covered. When we're uncovered, and in a lot of cases, here, we're not going to be uncovered completely, but I suppose we could call this being uncovered here. If you're uncovered, then what we want to do is we just want to widen that first step, okay? Because we want to be able, by the time we get to our second step, be able to capture that hip, get that foot down the middle of that next defender, and be able to scoop and attack that outside shoulder. And then we would, again, create the double team by getting a vertical press from the guard and working him to the second level. Okay, so that's how we establish double teams. Now, how we can get off the double teams and create them more efficiently is we have two blockers engaging this defender, but we're trying to do that with three hands. Okay, so a big part of what we're trying to do here is we want to determine who is our two-hand blocker and who is our one-hand blocker. Easiest way that we set it is if you are stepping play side into the double team, then you are the two-hand man. Okay, so our right tackle is stepping play side if we're running the ball to our left. He is going to be the two-hand man. He's going to work to get his inside hand down the inside of the chest, the inside of the number. He's trying to get his backside hand on the hip or the kidney of that blocker, and that's going to help create the lateral movement. Our one-hand blocker is the one who's either going to be stepping vertically into the double team or, in extreme cases, stepping down into the double team. Because since we're getting vertical press, we want to actually be the guy who climbs off to get to the next level defender, because if he's following the flow of the football, he will be coming towards that play side one-hand man's open side, and it'll be easier for him to climb off and get to that second level defender. It would be much harder if he had two hands to then disengage and get to the second level defender. Okay, so we've built those two blocks so far. We got one more here. We're covered depending on how wide he is. We just want to engage and wall off here. All right, so now that we've got the blocks set up, let's talk about the backfield action. Okay, so now how I run things is my quarterback runs a little bit more the the New Hampshire Mafia style footwork. So we're going to be taking a step with our left foot off the midline, stepping downhill away from the midline. And then we're going to hinge open to create space for the mesh. And hopefully we're going to be relatively perpendicular to the line of scrimmage, parallel to the midline, maybe slightly askew, but we want to be in position so we can see the backside defender. Our running back is going to take either shuffle steps or a slide step to get as close to the midline as he can. And then he's going to be working downhill towards the A gap. Okay, so when he gets to the A gap, he wants to read the push that we're getting on this A gap defender. This is an A gap to A gap type run. If we've got a good push and we've got him off the line of scrimmage, then what he wants to do is he wants to plant his outside foot and he just wants to get vertical. Plant the outside foot, get vertical. Okay, if we get any kind of pushback here, okay, this is stalemated. We don't want him to bounce outside because we don't want him to turn his shoulders to the sideline. We want to get north-south. We create east-west by our cutbacks. We don't create east-west by bouncing it. Okay, so if we get a pushback here, he's going to want to bounce it back into the backside A and then climb through the backside A, picking up the blocks of these second-level defenders. Okay, so we're looking to press to the A and then bounce it back to the B, to the backside A, maybe even the backside B, depending on how good we hold this guy. And again, our backside defender here is our read man. Okay, so our quarterback is reading his angle of attack. So if he comes out and does his job, he squeezes when he gets the down block and then he gets vertical to create contain, then we're just going to hand it off and we're going to be able to get upfield. He blocked himself. Okay. If he sees the down block and sees a ball carrier and he feels he's unblocked and just goes screaming down the line and attacks inside, well, then our QB is going to pull it and he's going to go outside. Again, now we don't have to block him. And we get a situation where we have 5 blockers and we have 5 defenders blocked. This 6th guy is in a situation where he's got to pick one or the other. And he's always going to be wrong if we do it right. Okay? So there is the basic inside zone, how we install it, how we run it, how we build through the rules. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go into huddle and we're going to take a look at some clips of how the Longo runs the inside zone and how Wisconsin used it this year as a building block to a more expanded scheme. Okay, so here we are in huddle, and I've picked 2 games to find some clips from, and that is going to be Purdue and Minnesota. Big reason why I did that is I much prefer the FS1 camera angle. It's a little bit higher, a little bit more elevated, so we can see a little bit more of the offensive line play and how things are built up. So here we go. We're going to start again with basic inside zone. We're going to start in a 3-by-1 set, open. And we're going to start out here. Just real quick to start out, Minnesota. Purdue is in their 3-3 personnel in their tight look. So they got 3 down linemen, 2 outside linebackers, edges, and an inside linebacker. And then they're spread out man-to-man coverage and everybody else. So we have an idea of where the defenders are. But let's look and see how we set this up. Okay. Mordecai steps downhill, hinges open, squaring up to the read man, and we're working to engage here. Now, because they're in a 5-man front, there's really not many opportunities for double teams. We get one right here with our right guard and our center, Fertini and Bordolini, but everyone else is basically in man blocks. They are looking to get a little bit wider, maybe because of this look, but they want to create as much angular movement as they can. All right, so we're going to hand it off. And because Mordecai has held his eyes a little bit. That creates a little bit of a cutback lane. And we just want to drive into that seam. You know, the threat of the QB run is going to hold this defender enough where he needs to shuffle down the line. He's not just going to scream upfield or downfield. All right, next one we got here, we got from a condensed 3-by-1 look. Purdue is basically in the same look. And now we're going to get a situation where the rush edge defender, he's going to, as soon as we get the ball snapped, he's screaming down. His shoulders are parallel to the line of scrimmage. And he's going to run straight downhill. We got a nice bubble action out here. This is built into the play as well. And that's going to hold defenders out here to create a nice running lane for our QB to take off in and run upfield. Again, it's all set up. Got some, again, are we creating double teams? Again, center guard, we're peeled off pretty quickly there. Boom, to get to a linebacker. That was a pretty good job. But this is all set up by number 4, and you can see he knew he was wrong as soon as he did it. I think he's expecting one of these flat defenders to be out here to scrape exchange, but we didn't get it. And Tanner's off to the races, touchdown. All right. One more example here. Now we got an extra blocker on the backside. So the read man, there really isn't a read man. It's going to be more, this is probably going to be more of an RPO on the backside. So now we blocked that extra man, and now we're just going to hand it off inside. All right, next up, we got a couple of our basic inside zones from Minnesota. Okay, we're going to 3-by-1 with the H-back on the weak side. And I did all that talking, and I realized that play was a power play. That's going to be in the next one. So let's skip that one. Moving on. Same formation. This is what we're supposed to get here. And again, we get a nice downfield push, creating a couple double teams, including a double team between Nowakowski and Nelson on the backside. Okay, good push. Okay, vertical push. Creates horizontal movement. All right. Good. Next one we're going to talk about is the first step in building off of the inside zone, and that is the split flow inside zone. So with split flow, we're adding blockers into the scheme, but more importantly, we're adding window dressing. We're adding movement to a basic play that we can either build off of or use to block defenders without having to physically block them. So starting off here, we're going to run split flow with Will Pauling. He's going to motion across. And again, the timing of this sets up a lot of things we could do off of that, but his movement is going to create just a moment of hesitation right here. Just a moment. He doesn't even have to block him. But that's enough to create a seam, because now that backside edge guy isn't going to be able to scrape downhill and squeeze on the ball. Okay. And also what this does on a basic run play, it creates a coverage indicator. Because when he motions across, number 10 follows him. So it lets us know this is man. So what does that set up? Lots of things, but more importantly, it sets up that number 10 has to negotiate through the traffic to keep up with the best receiver on Wisconsin's offense. And that's something we could build from. Next up here, we're going to move forward because this one has a long build-up. Okay, we're in a quads formation. Okay, and we're going to run split flow. Our end is turning down. Now, the split defender here, what we're looking to do is seal off the B gap. And we don't want anything coming through the B gap to track downhill. So that's going to be a linebacker, usually, or a defensive lineman that has squeezed outside, keeping the edge guy free as a read. But he's going to squeeze the B gap, nothing there. We're going to turn up field, and in this case, that's exactly what happens. That end screams so low downhill that he's through the B gap before we even get there. So we're just going to let him go. He ain't going to disturb the read. Boom, keep it, and now our split flow is working to pick up the first defender we see. And that's what we get right there. And we'll give it one more look. Okay, split, turn up field. Again, that extra defender, that scream downhill, that would have been on block to make the tackle. Now he's out of position, and at least we get something out of it instead of nothing. All right, next up, Minnesota. We're going to be in the open formation. You're going to get a little bit of motion. Okay, and now again, we're working downhill to the B gap. The B gap defender is a little bit off the ball, or at least he's hesitating. That allows us to get a shoulder on. We don't do the best job blocking on this particular play. Actually, we might almost could have gotten called for a holding there. But the idea is there. If we could have got a better hat on him, cutback lane was wide open. Okay, next up, same action. And again, we're coming downhill to the B gap. If nothing's there, we're looking to get upfield. Nothing in the B gap, turn upfield. Again, we're looking for double teams, and we're looking for forward vertical push. Okay, next, so now we're going to build off of the split flow and run what is essentially the modern day triple option. Okay, so we have a give, keep, read here on the edge defender. And then we're going to have a keep, pass, read on a flat defender out here. So we're going to set this up. We're going to send Skylar Bell in motion. Snap, read number 4, he squeezes down. That means we're going to keep it. We're going to pull it out, and now we're going to read leverage here on our defenders out in the flat. Now we're getting works because we knew the man coverage, and we knew this number 10 had to get through the mess to keep up with our slot defender, our slot receiver. We know we're going to have space, and we got leverage. So that's just an easy pitch and catch. And let Skylar turn a catch on the line of scrimmage into a 6-7 yard gain. Not bad. Okay. Now we're going to run split flow flat with the tight end. Same concept, take the same angle. And again, if we have the leverage on that defender, and we do, easy pitch and catch, and let our big bodies or our playmakers get in space and turn, a decent little gain for the QB. He could have kept it there. He also could have got hit by about 4 people. Or we pitch to our big tight end, let him do the running. Easy. Get it out in space. Okay, motion, again, same thing. Split. This time we decided to keep it. Okay, probably should have made that decision a little bit earlier. But because we have to respect the flat, defender goes with him. Now we just got to make a move. Our athlete makes a move. We get a couple extra yards. All right, last one we're going to go here. Now we're building upon building, and we're going to build off of the split flow into a reverse. And there's a little fun play here we can add to the end. And again, this is the build off of the build off play, and we get a few extra yards. All right, so there is the inside zone in the Dairy Raid offense. It is, like I said before, it is a true building block scheme that you can build a lot off of. If anything, you could run your entire run game through inside zone blocking. There's so many different backfield actions that we can run with inside zone that you can run one scheme and you would be okay. As long as you used enough of the complementary plays to build along with it. All right. So that is the inside zone. Next time, we're going to take a look at the outside zone in the Dairy Raid offense. And outside zone is my favorite blocking scheme because it is so misunderstood. Because the word outside in outside zone is such a misnomer that it is a great play and a great scheme to use when you have speed in your backfield that can get vertical. And we'll talk about that next time. All right. So that is the inside zone. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next chapter.